Rock bottom is officially here as the Cubs blow a late lead at home against the Giants and lose another one.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. The Cubs with a horrible, heartbreaking, bone-crushing loss as they led 6-3 with 4 outs to go, but lost 7-6 to begin a 3-game series with the Giants on Monday night. The loss puts the Cubs at 34-39 on the season. Javier Assad went 5 innings before there was bullpen shakiness, along with Craig Counsell shakiness, which we will address fully. And there was a surprising offensive comeback, highlighted by a 3-run homer from Ian Happ to give the Cubs the lead. And for a brief moment, even in our optimistic Cubs brains, we were thinking the win, but Hector Neris allowed a go-ahead 3-run homer, and the Cubs lost again. Cubs president Jed Hoyer also spoke on Monday, and it's a certainty that his name will come up once or many times this episode. Sam, this loss does seem like a breaking point of the 2024 season.
We have a lot of listeners, a lot of great listeners, and a lot of listeners that I know that have told me. They've told me when I've met them. They've told me over messages that they don't watch a lot of the games. They either listen to the game or they just check the box score and listen to us. And I think it's really important because, especially my reputation, when we were at that podcast event, what was it called again?
Ranterfest.
I was the ranter. I was the emotional guy. So I think I have this reputation of being a sensationalizer or an exaggerator. And maybe we have that as a show and it's entertaining. If you go back and you listen to our shows in the 2022 season, it wasn't really like that too much, right? They were pretty standard games. Last September, this season is unforeseen. And I think it's really important that people know that this isn't typical. If you're not a diehard and you just listen to the show, which we appreciate, we're not like, they could be 34-39 in a way where we come out and go, hey, lost this. It is what it is. This is unforeseen. I have never seen anything like this. And to put it in context for you, a week ago, before this week began, the president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, said this has been the most frustrating 6-week stretch of baseball he's had as an executive. Since that day, they blew a 2-1 lead late and got walked off in the 9th inning. 2 days later, they blew a 2-0 lead and lost late against the Rays. On Friday, they had a mammoth home run ball get blown back by the wind. Sunday, wind howling out, only could score 1 run. And on Monday, they lose a 6-3 lead with 4 outs to go and lose 7-6. That all came after the president of baseball ops said that this was the most frustrating stretch he has seen as an executive. Those 4 or 5 losses that I just described were as frustrating as any of them. And it's not one person, it's everything together. Today, the offense delivered late, and the bullpen is just a complete and utter disaster. They have one good reliever. I'm probably going to go an overlap on some segments. I think today is just a whatever we got, let's just say it type of program. Tyson Miller has not been featured in any of these blown leads except for after they blew the one against the Rays. I think that's almost blasphemous at this point. The relievers as Falote, Little came in, hit and a walk. Wisniewski, 1 innings pitched. He walked 4 men and gave up a homer.
Oof.
Leiter Jr. gave up another run. His ERA is up to a blistering 4.5. And Hector Neris gave up 3 runs, 2 of them earned, a walk, catcher's interference, and a 3-run home run. Craig Counsell continues somehow, some way to have Hayden Wesneski ahead of Tyson Miller on the totem pole. It's unexplainable. But this team this season is toxic. It's been a disaster. It's been terrible to watch. And I just want to say, before I pass it over to you, I've said it 10 times, but I just want to say it officially. I could not have been more wrong about David Ross last year. The David Ross to Craig Counsell thing is probably as wrong as I have ever been on a sports take in my entire life. And that's not even as much a bash on Counsell as it just is that these problems are way above a manager. And Jed Hoyer convinced me that David Ross was the problem I was already convinced, and then David Ross convinced everybody else by letting Ross go and hiring Counsell. And it's been way worse. The manager has absolutely nothing to do with the problems here. If anything, they're making it worse. I'm almost disappointed that I didn't see it like this. And it doesn't even matter. Like the situation is so bad right now. And you have to look way above the manager at this point.
Absolutely. And you can make a case that he's had virtually zero effect in a positive manner, whether that is because of roster construction or not. And I would like to just start there because as the producer of this program, my reality the last hour couldn't have been more haphazard. It's just bizarre what this team is doing. They actually led twice in this game, which people are probably going to forget. They did lead 6-3 with 4 outs to go, but they led 3-2 after Michael Busch hit a go-ahead 2-run home run. And the Cubs led after that home run, literally, for 5 minutes / 2 pitches. That's how quick the lead evaporated. I do think some of the disconnect on Counsell, despite the Cubs bullpen, which has been hurt in a major way by injuries this year. But Counsell's decisions to turn over the baseball when he have been questionable. His decisions to turn over the baseball to certain guys has been questionable. And I do think how he managed it Monday was just plain wrong. And we need to keep in mind that the last 4 seasons up north with the Brewers, he really was a 7 or 8 inning manager with Devin Williams and Josh Hader. And those are elite guys, especially in the 21 year. They were both dynamite. I would say I can't believe it, but it's just unfortunate that part of me did sketch out this ending this way on Monday night. And it stinks because the offense did rally, and Ian Happ just put a jolt in that team in that moment. But it just got squandered so fast. And, these 47 games have really been torture. I think unforeseen is a beyond fair term that you use. And there is major problems on the north side that we speculated about in the winter. And some of that really was out of boredom at the time because there was so much inactivity, but it's ended up being reality what these problems are. And for as good as the starting pitching has been, which as a collective group has been for the most part excellent, the offense, defense, and bullpen, 3 of the 4 major pieces of this sport has been so bad.
I thought the 9th inning for me in the bottom half. I don't know if you're probably planning the show. I don't know if you caught this, but Wisdom led off the inning, and there was a 2-0 pitch to Wisdom. I don't know if you saw it.
It was a bad call, yeah.
And Jim Deshaies couldn't believe it. I mean, his reaction, he couldn't believe it. And Counsell sat there, and
it was like 3 balls outside.
And if you remember, after the 8th inning, Bob Melvin got tossed.
That's right.
And that just it was just another thing with this, because I remember I was all over Ross last year.
They're passive. Everyone's passive down there.
I didn't think Ross was protecting his players, right? That was one of my big gripes. I really thought it really impacted Seiya Suzuki's season.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been worse.
It's been worse.
Think about that. Like, you just blow a huge lead, right? You can't lose this game. You're about to get a gift walk, and that ball's called. You just sit there, and then after the game, I mean, he's such a broken man right now. He really is. I mean, you look at him, the things that he says, and again, it's not even that he's a bad manager. It's just that it's not the manager. It's above that.
Right.
And when you get to Jed and you get to this, there's something about these Jed Hoyer teams, and it goes back to really 2018, because obviously those were Theo teams as well. Mm-hmm. When it goes bad for these guys, they don't have somebody to stop the bleeding, right? The 2018 collapse and the back-to-back losses at home, right? The and Joe Madden was in charge there, and Joe Madden won a World Series. In 2019, remember, it was Kimbrel against the Cardinals. They couldn't stop the bleeding. Just, it was this. 2020, they couldn't score in the in the division playoffs, whatever the COVID playoffs were. There is a characteristic with this franchise and this organization since they won the championship, and then I'll say since the 2017 season when they were beat obviously by a better Dodger team, that there's no internal leadership, there's no stopping the bleeding, and there's so much conversation about trends and luck and expected this and expected this. How lucky did the Cubs get today? The rally starter for the huge 4-run inning was a pop-up that they didn't catch, the Giants. And
routine pop-up in the infield grass.
And the 2-run home run by Michael Busch, I think Nico Horner might have been out at first base, and Melvin didn't challenge it. The Cubs got tons of breaks on Monday night. You make your own breaks, and this organization right now has a characteristic of not being able to stop the bleeding and just extending these losing streaks. It's I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. There's a couple of titles we could go with today, and whatever you want to do. Rock bottom. Another one is toxic. This is a toxic team, and my reactions continue to get less and less. I listened to the radio. I was at my dad's. I left my dad's when the Cubs were up 6-3. And when Pat Hughes called that 3-run home run from Thairo Estrada, my reaction was so apathetic. I literally just continued my park job, closed the door, walked in, and I literally said, it's so toxic. If we didn't have a show, I would be taking a long break from them. I got the Copa America coming up this week to watch Messi in his last tournament. The finals were on tonight. There's so many other things. TV show. I want to start a new show. I think I'm officially going to really get into The Office. You
finally.
You suggested that to me at Ranterfest. I think that's what's going to happen here.
Oh, man.
Really decompress on some things, and but we have a show, so I got to watch the games. And it's been a season from hell. That's what it's been. In every aspect, injuries, luck, managing, hitting, fielding, bullpen. I don't know what else to say. Have you ever? I mean, what else? What else is there to say to the 680 people that are watching us right now? I guess all I could say is hang with us. We're going to give you some entertainment throughout the rest of the year. We'll make it worth your while. We appreciate all the listens that we get. We aren't sensationalizing this, and we wish that we had better news to bring you. I don't know what else to say.
Well, for now, we're going to continue to say things and document what is perhaps the breaking point for this team. And we continue to do that next.
This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The experience of searching for and then buying tickets on Game Time is simple. I've done it plenty of times. Plus, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy. So if you go to Wrigley and you're sitting in one of those 200 sections and you're a little worried about one of those polls there, maybe you check on that before you buy the ticket. Although with the way they're playing, I like to be blocked out from the game. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee.
Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com, which is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Supply House's easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Do you need help with an order? Well, you can get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks of a button. That's supplyhouse.com to check out Supply House today. The Cubs play the Giants at 7:05 p.m. Central Tuesday, and you can hear every pitch of the Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. We're back here on Locked On Cubs as we document what is a possible breaking point in the 2024 campaign and really zooming in and zooming out on the Cubs franchise, as it was a day and the Cubs blew another lead, a day Jed Hoyer spoke, and really a lot more than that as well. The Cubs dug themselves a hole this year, Sam, especially offensively. They chose to really build it around the margins and really compose a team that was built more station to station, although they don't really do anything to play into that. But they made this bet. They built it, they climbed in it. And right now they're asleep, and it's really a shame. It doesn't have to be this way. They've spent a lot of money to be a really bad club right now, which is striking, because a lot of times we want to say, hey, what are you doing? Why are you, spending on these players, or why aren't you spending enough, or why are you targeting the big names, or really even get a seat at the table with the big names? And there's just so much happening simultaneously right now, and a lot of it they're just doing wrong.
Yeah,
I think we can say that at this point. It's not my job to be right on the two trades last summer. Jose Cuas was DFA'd on Sunday, Sam. DJ Hurts threw an absolute gem on Saturday.
Yeah.
That's not my job to get that right. That's Jed Hoyer's job.
Yep.
And time again, he insults me. Why does he always speak like he has a crystal ball? He did it again on Monday. He said, well, this group has failed to produce the last 46 games, which, by the way, is a good quote. But he says no one player is going to change that. The collective group has to figure it out. Well, besides the just torrid offensive struggles this year. How do you know that one player wouldn't change it? How do you know that? Why is that just a solution or a thought that you finalize in your mind?
Yeah.
How do you know that one player wouldn't making a difference? I understand that immediate change is rare, and immediate change that just turns the tide right away is probably unlikely. But just to be flat out about that, and also even with the caveat of June 17th, but we entered the season having conversations like this, and I always come back to the offense just because it's so glaring.
Yeah.
Yes, the bullpen's been poor. The defense has stunk at times. But he's talking about the issues that he himself created.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Well, yeah, I hear you. I want to zoom in a little bit more on the bullpen stuff, because I think that's really where Jed is making his bed right now. This is a bullpen that has no stuff. There is nobody in this bullpen that has really good stuff, and the people that do, the players that do have good stuff, the Littles, the Palencias. I understand that Merriweather's hurt. The Porter Hodges, the Jeremiah Estradas that are now at the Padres. They either could not hack it here and have gone and had success everywhere else. Trevor Magill on the Brewers. The Cubs have failed to develop relievers within their organization, and their pitching lab is not that isn't a thing. I understand there's been some success stories with Steele, maybe Ben Brown, but you look at things and you look at it like Luke Little. He's got good stuff, but he can't get the ball over the plate. So guys like Hector Neris, who don't have great stuff anymore, get crushed. And Hayden Wisniewski, who doesn't have great stuff, get crushed. And you're relying on Mark Leiter Jr., who on a really good team should be like a 6th, 7th inning situational reliever to set up guys. And you know, Palencia, one day he throws 101, the next day he can't get the ball over the plate.
Right.
Keegan Thompson's broken as a pitcher. He keeps making the trek back and forth. The organization, and I thought Counsell was going to help with that, but it's kind of my point. It's just bigger than him. I really think there's a common denominator in this league right now between really good organizations and really good pitching labs. I mean, you look the Rays, you look at, the Dodgers, you look at Cleveland, you look at these teams, and the Cubs have really failed in that regard. You just look at the guys who pitched today, and who came in high leverage. Luke Little can't get the ball over the plate. Wisniewski, not good stuff. Leiter Jr., one pitch guy. If it's not working, it's batting practice. Hector Neris completely has regressed from having good stuff. And, your best guy right now is a guy that you got because he wasn't good enough to pitch on the Mariners staff. And I just think, it really, and I understand that there's injuries, but there's a lot of teams that have injuries. The Dodgers just lost Yamamoto and Mookie Betts in 48 hours. They're going to be just fine.
Right.
The Braves lost Strider and Acuna,
Yeah, they can't cover injuries.
You really have to wonder. I mean, you just look at the guys that come out of the bullpen for the Giants today. And there's some guys that struggled. Trevor Magill could not get outs for the Cubs, and he's been the closer for the Brewers this year. Jeremiah Estrada is somebody that we made fun of on this show, and he had one of the most dominant stretches in baseball history in the month of May for the San Diego Padres. There is something wrong with the pitching lab there. I've talked to some people within the league. A lot of people think the Cubs were outdated and too late to the party with the sweeper and the cut right fastball. Now the sweeper as a pitch is actually out. And the Cubs still have a bunch of guys that feature that pitch, but maybe that's an off-season type of show. It's a real reflection of how poor the organization is just when you look at how awful. Like Hector Neris, he's throwing 93. That's your closer?
Not even.
Yeah.
He's really been sitting like 91, 92.
It's really an indictment on Jed Hoyer. And to me, if we were to have him on this show, am I frustrated? Of course I am that Dansby Swanson again is 0 for his last 16, and Jed actually had the nerve to make more excuses for him today. But where I would really go with Jed and wonder is like, do you feel like the pitching, the relievers, the young guys, the Porter Hodges, these guys, you really haven't been able to develop any of them, and that's an indictment.
Right. Well, and that's the key right now in this sport is player development at the major league level, especially with pitchers. Once you get to the show, the development doesn't have to stop. And when you get to new clubs, you see that really make a difference, especially in the case of Estrada going from the Cubs to the Padres. I understand the Cubs supposedly, I use that word just because I'm frustrated right now, but supposedly have a good farm system. But really,
it's a fair thing to say.
I mean, the player development at the major league level is the difference maker. And they don't have enough players of impact to cover those innings. And when they maybe did find one in this moment in time, because listen, Tyson Miller, we don't know. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. It's not my job. But he might not last that long. But guess what? He is right now. And he doesn't pitch in big moments. He just doesn't. Yep. He cleaned up Saturday's game and finished the game. But, that was one of the few or one of the two in the last 30 days that was actually of comfort. And so they're really handing the ball to these dudes right now that aren't doing well. And to just put the exclamation on it, it looks like they're not doing well. It always looks it. You could just tell. Can you not just tell that they're lost?
Well, Neris hasn't been all. We've said it every time he's gotten a save. We go, he didn't look good, but he got the job done. Now the results are finally happening, the negative ones.
Right. They're humans. So the result of their debacles is them now putting pressure on themselves and just being completely lost. You saw that with a few at-bats today. You saw that with Leiter when he hit a batter. You've seen it multiple times just in the last 7 days with Wisniewski, and you've seen it multiple times in the last week with Neris. And quite frankly, you see it with Counsell, I think.
100%. 100%.
There's nothing of – there's no redeeming qualities right now, especially 5 or 6 starting pitchers.
The only thing you could go out and say, and it's almost like, not to be super eerie, but like at this point, you'd rather the starters just be bad too, because you don't want a situation where next year those guys regress. Like,
right.
The year you're getting out of Assad, I mean, he's got a 2.75 ERA. It's insane.
It's like borderline all-star level.
For what? Imanag is the second best pitcher in the business. For what?
Right.
Steele's figured it all out. For what? It's just ridiculous. And I really didn't see. I didn't think this was a great club, but I didn't think this has just been. I can't believe it. I feel for everybody. I feel for us. I really do. I feel for you and I. I mean, I was telling my dad when the Cubs were down 1-0. My dad's like, "What are you going to talk about tonight? Like what is there to do?" And then it turned out to be, this could be the biggest show of the year, considering where it's going.
Well, it may turn out that we have a lot of time to talk.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of time to have some fun. Dansby Swanson, since we tried to give him a little turnaround in Cincinnati, he's 0 for his last 15.
Oh my gosh.
Miguel Amaya, Matt. Let's go to break. And
then we'll wrap up when we get back.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question after break.
Today's episode is also presented by Prize Picks, our great partner here on Locked On Cubs. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. Pick more or less and 2 or more players' stats, and then watch the winnings roll in. Baseball season's well underway, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less and then add them to your Prize Picks entry. Prize Picks is really simple to play, with your entries taking less than 60 seconds to submit, turning $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps of your screen. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match up to $100 by using code LOCKEDONMLB. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. What do you have for me?
Has there ever been a player in professional sports that has ever done less to earn a starting role every day than Miguel Amaya? I mean, why is he the guy? And I know I'm picking at straws, but don't you think has he been that better than Gomes? He's awful. I mean,
he hasn't been that much better. No,
he's awful. He's an awful baseball player.
Right.
Like I just wanted to say, like, the catcher's interference. He's so unbelievably slow. His at bats are all like I just had to ask that.
He's a catcher that can't catch.
A catcher that can't hit, catch, or call pitches.
Right.
I mean, he's
the
horrendous.
pitch calling is really egregious.
Let's just close out by saying, Council double down on Neris. Do you want to hear? If you want to hear the quote?
Let's see. Can you read that to me?
Yeah, reporter. Would you say that it's not under consideration to remove him from save situations right now? $40 million man says, quote, "Look, we've got a bullpen. We've got to find guys to get outs. And Hector has been a guy that's been reliable for us. So I wouldn't anticipate doing that. And we're going to always examine every best way to get 27 outs." That's what Craig likes to say every day. And we're going to need Hector to be a part of that. And
he's been reliable in what instances besides maybe 3-4 appearances?
The Chicago Cubs now have 16 blown saves in the 2024 season. And I just want to close by saying this.
Which one was your favorite? 3-1-2.
I just want to close by saying this. Maybe they bring up Ethan Roberts and he has a little success.
So what?
No, just listen. Let me finish, please. Maybe they bring up Carl Edwards and he has a little success. The point is, it doesn't matter. They're just throwing things at the wall. That's why I laughed at the Jorge Lopez thing and seeing if it sticks. They have no plan and no way to figure out how to get this done. The way they've handled the bullpen, their stuff, it's on Jed, whatever his middle name is, Hoyer. and I think if I were Tom Ricketts and I spent $230 million, I would say, you know what, Jed, I understand that you had some marginal success when it didn't matter on building a bullpen. This bullpen, this pitching lab is horrible, and you probably are going to lose your job because of it.
Well, they've signed 16 pitchers since opening day.
16
stashed them in the minor leagues.
16 blown saves combined with a historically bad offensive stretch.
They're literally the worst offense in baseball.
They're the worst offense, and they have the worst bullpen.
Right.
And
so here we are.
And defensively, it wasn't a great day. Morel with an easy double play ball. We pride ourselves on run prevention, but we put a guy that can't play third at third, and on the bases, they made 2 more outs there. So
yikes.
We didn't even report that Mike Tauchman has a groin injury.
He's injured, yeah.
Expect an IL stint for him.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes, a little more today. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way, amazingly, even despite these troubling times. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube. We're close to 10,000 subs. Smash the like button for the algorithm despite the Cubs results, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you want more Matt and Sam and zero Cubs, consider supporting us by subscribing to our Unlocked podcast. The link to subscribe to Unlocked is in this episode description. Woo.
Hang with us, guys. We appreciate you. We really do.
He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.